Well, folks, I know you're not going to be disappointed with this episode because this feels like Atlanta of old. Crazy episode in episode 6, White Fashion from season 3. Trailer and Niger here tonight. Get you that review of tonight's episode. Crazy episode. And I'm jumping off by saying that I knew off break homegirl wasn't with Darius because she was interested. I knew she was. I saw it a mile away. I saw it a mile away. But so many things to talk about. So let's start off in the very beginning because I don't want to miss any of the details with this episode. Right. We come in what looks to be some type of fashion mogul, some type of high-profile commercial, and you just don't really know what to make of it. But it's Atlanta, so you know you're looking for some clues for something. And lo and behold, the reveal. On the back of these jerseys, Central Park 5. Now, I know everybody has to know this one. This should be a no-brainer for everybody. But what this did tells me is that white people wear black trauma for fashion. Black trauma, black struggle is a fashion statement. And you know, Tommy Hilfiger had, you know, they brought it up about the whole allegations of Tommy Hilfiger being racist, and that's a bit, you know, why everybody stopped wearing it. But ultimately, we understood because white people were getting rich off of black communities with their fashion. Kanye rapped about it. Beyond rapping about it, he's been very vocal about it, about how the fashion industry works in terms of prying and preying on black communities, but leaving us nothing to show for. You know what I mean? And I think this is just an example of saying like, oh, that whole Central Park 5 thing. Yeah, we could make clothes off of it. We can sell it. Then we could sell it to them and make it cool and whatnot. But like, it's ultimately fucked up. So what was just your immediate thought jumping into the beginning of this episode here before we get into everything?
At first I thought this was going to be another kind of offset episode where the crew wasn't involved. From the first couple minutes, because like they jump right into it with, of course, showing the, you know, them about to put out a, you know, an exclusive piece of merchandise, and them showing the character they were going to put in there, and then of course the kid gets it. You know, kid just happens to be black, and he opens the box, and you know, of course, you know, you said that Central Park 5 with the character and everything on there. How this thing out right now? Like I said, I thought this was going to be another one of those offset episodes, but turns out we get another lesson this week, and in the news of the world and the reality of like what has actually happened, and turn that into a reflective episode as we usually do with Atlanta. And I always like how they do it. It's not like it's hitting you over the head with a hammer, but it's also not subtle either the way they do it. They want you to know, like this how this what they be doing. This is what they be doing. Yeah, and, I was not let down at all from what I got from this. From what was that?
Yeah.
What was the episode? White. What was the episode title?
White Fashion.
White Fashion.
Yeah. And folks, I mean, because all these episodes have some type of teaching and learning factor to it. So, you know, instantly off the break, you know, this was again talk about the Central Park 5. And if you don't know what this is, a very, very well put together and awarded mini series, which is on Netflix, When They See Us, which is something you need to go out the way to check out. It was phenomenal. I think it came out about 2 years ago, maybe 3. Right. And that you would now get like what they're referencing. But again, the whole metaphorical thing about it is like, oh, well, we take something that they, you know, is embedded in black trauma, but we take it and merchandise it and then sell it back to them. Like it's one way or another. You, by the end of this episode, you should have got to sit back and evaluate some of the choices we might have made in terms of fashion and trends and all these sorts of different things that we wear, because it's always something to it. And I think this was the depiction of it, the fashion world. Anyway, going into it, Darius, of course, he was going to be interested in the fashion. We see him kind of analyzing things in the back. Right. But more or less, Earn and Al are basically like, you know, because Paperboy is the face of everything. You know, you want him involved, you want him attached to your brand, because that brings like black audience notoriety to you. You have him attached to it. They're just like, oh, we can tap into that whole audience and demographic and whatnot.
Right. He just wants to get some free stuff out of this. Like he don't care about none of that. Like he just want to get some free clothes. He want to be in on the plug. You know what I mean? He trying to get some free designer.
Right. And look, and I mean, that's what a lot of us think initially in opportunity. We're like, well, what can we get out of this? But he's slow to find out that, like, you know, and meeting the other guy, he was like, look, we about to do this whole thing. You know, Earn talking about being Uncle Tom for the photo ops and whatnot. and basically the symbolic factor to this is that Black people sell our soul for fashion, no matter what it is. And, you know, there's been a lot of different things this week in terms of that, about folks and wearing fashion, but in the sense of trying to be up on the latest and greatest, but like don't even have our own priorities in place, but we have to have it no matter what, no matter, you know, how silly it may look and what's happening behind the scenes and all these sorts of different things. Like, we sell our soul for fashion. And that was just it, where you hear like Earn saying like, hey, I assess this whole scenario. I know what's going on here. Right. Paperboy initially is just like, now I'm just trying to catch me a freebie and it all good. I'm gonna catch a couple of these. And when you think about it, all the things that they're asking for, the white folks are just like, okay, no problem, because they understand the end game, the bigger picture here. And this is just one piece of the puzzle. Like, give them all that other stuff, but actually having him and the notoriety and him co-signing on this, as we've seen at the end of the episode with the commercial, it speaks volumes. You can get away with anything once you have the big name attached to it. Again, what Kanye was talking about, but I digress. Anyway, so that's where we now start to see the three characters kind of go down their separate paths in terms of culture vultures, cultural appropriation, gentrification, all sorts of different things that kind of came about. And I would assume what Homegirl did, that's considered gentrification.
Oh, indeed.
Yeah.
He was poaching.
She Whole Foods them, right? Like for real. But
Trader Joe's, whatever you want to call them, like
just can't. The whole neighborhood doesn't even appear to be what it used to be anymore. That's where we start to see, like, one moment this was a Black, very rich in African culture, and then next thing you know, folks are walking their dog, talking about recycling, you know, all sorts of different things came about, all because one person comes in, buy a property, and then now we can't even live there, and nor do they care where we go afterwards. Like, think about it. Just think about it now. Like, it's crazy how it's. But anyway, let's still stay on Paperboy for a little bit now. Okay. So Paperboy meets the other dude. I didn't catch his name. Yeah. And he's basically like, look, I got my own nonprofit. I already know what this is. Like,
he's already in on the hustle.
Yeah, I haven't paid for a meal in 73 police shootings. I mean, that sounds
so casually too. Like,
yeah,
I was dead. I was like, I gotta write this. I can't believe he just said that. like you just expected at this point. Like,
absolutely disgusting.
Right.
But
you already know something else about to happen, so you might as well just get on the ride.
Yeah.
Like I said, the way his character was just so casual about it, he was just already like this. Like, he's like he said, we gonna have to apologize for something that they did.
Yeah.
You know, and make it look whatever. So it's just like you said, it was disgusting. the way he presented it to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so they get up there and they start talking about their new initiative and how this is going to not only fix the Black community, but news to me, in 2024, racism is going to be over.
Yeah, okay.
So and this is where Paperboy starts to like unprogram a little bit. It's not that he's ignorant to the stuff. He just has been accustomed to things being a certain way. And I think that's also really telling about the Black community, is like, when we get opportunity, we're happy to be included, but are we actually willing to take to make change? Do we want to make change? And do we know how to make change and whatnot? Or are we just happy for the handout, the notoriety, and then we're off to the next? You know, and that's where we kind of see that kind of explored by the different Black characters within it, whether they're American or whether they're European. You know, they're still Black, and you know, the struggle was across the world, so it didn't matter where you were Black. But it's interesting to see that everybody had sort of a different approach, where you had what you said his name was again?
Khalil,
who kind of like took like the very like subtle undercover I'm not going to turn over my card just yet.
Right.
I'm going to play the game. Poker is what he did. And you have Paperboy, who kind of just he took a plea deal initially. He was just like, I'll just take whatever. And then you have the other black girl who just kind of like, well, I actually don't know what to do, so I'm just gonna follow anything. And then you kind of see her kind of rally behind Paperboy at the end, saying like, no, this is his idea. But also she kind of sold out at the end too, because somebody had to find out about the plan in order to take it back to the other folks in order for them to cut the commercial in the first place. So anyway, to you, I was just going to say, what's your overall assessment and thoughts about Paperboy and all of that went on?
I was going to say, like, you could definitely see the turning point of when he was like, yo, I want to get this free stuff, to him growing like kind of a social conscience about the situation. Like, yeah, I don't really feel comfortable with this. You know what I mean? Like, y'all in here, y'all, like you said, you know, y'all in here trying to eat off of this. You know what I mean? Like, whereas though they made it real clear, we can't give you like money straight up. And notice how all these people already had these organizations, you know, ready to collect, you know, this charity, you know what I mean? And, you know, the one character in the room where he's like, man, are you even black? You know what I mean? Like, he's like, I don't feel comfortable with you saying that N-word. You know what I mean? Like, him and the dude Khalil is battling forth. Like, look, you got to eat last time. You got like 100K or whatever it was off the last charity. So you can see at that point where this is more than just them apologizing. This is a business deal. This is them, you know, collecting off these white people's mistakes. You know what I mean? So, and like you said, he's been doing this for a while. You know, he already know the deal. So
yeah,
but you know, it just so happened that it just happened to get twisted around like that.
Right,
it made him look stupid. So
right. And the dude you talking about, I think his name was Jozo. But you know, it kind of plays towards colorism a little bit too, because it's just kind of like,
I don't know. I was kind of questioning myself. I had to look close to the screen. Like,
yeah, and you never know. I mean, a lot of South Africans are very light skinned, but you know, pretty damn black. And I think, you know, even Paperboy is saying like, it don't feel right. You say nigga and whatnot. But you know, it's just you know, just another theme that they tapped on, colorism. You know, like, you know, who's blacker, and who's black enough and stuff. And like, is he black? Who knows? He acts a certain way. I mean, and we also seen that on the other end with Darius, where Darius was basically in a Nigerian restaurant, and she was basically like, "You're Nigerian? I don't think so. Look at your hair." But then she's kind of just like, "Okay, cool." And they, you know, they got the commonality about the homeland and whatnot, and he knew his stuff about the dishes and whatnot. So like, yeah, but I mean, like, again, that's another one of those type of things, like, because you don't look it, that means you can't be it. You know what I mean? And there's always a sense of like reserve before there's acceptance, and I think that's what we kind of seen on both ends. But yeah, going to Darius now. Now Darius goes to the Nigerian restaurant with homegirl, and I knew from break that the questions. It wasn't even just that too. She had no interest in him, because anytime he said something that wasn't about her whole objectives, she wasn't paying attention. She was cutting him off. She was going about it. But I mean, she was asking like legitimate questions about the culture. Right. And obviously we know how passionate he is about it, because when they were talking about food, first of all, I thought he said Zoloft, and for 1 minute I said, is he asking for medication? Like, okay, cool. But now he's talking about Jollof, which is a Nigerian rice deal. So I was like, wait a minute. Either way, you know, it's Darius, so either way it would have worked. Right. But you know, going to the restaurant, you know, I just seen it from a mile away that she said she is trying to obtain as much knowledge as she can about not only just black culture, but then it transformed into the Nigerian African culture, because she came back with that very scandalous, oh, I got an email about somebody asking about it, and it's just so weird that somebody would ask about it too. Like, no, that is your very, very, very BS way of wanting to like steal information without being upfront about it. Like, there was nothing genuine about her off break. Her whole approach, from him asking for this different deal, a different meal that she had not heard of, and instead of her wanting to just learn, she said, no, beyond that business, let's steal. And how often do we see that? I mean,
I mean, I just thought it was weird because they really, the show was also kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? They don't really explain the passing of time, like between like the scenes, like how long, like has it been a week? Because there's no way in the world. I mean, unless that they put this place out of business within what, a day? Because that was what from our perspective, like yesterday.
I don't, but does it matter though? 1 day, 2 days, 2 hours, 2 weeks.
Well,
it's
but I asked because she was like, there was an offer. They followed up on it, and she said she pretty much outbid them, and she quit her job, and now she wants to do this streetcar business or whatever. And she was able to get it, but like you said, he was naming the dishes. Oh, what's that? What's going on? Okay. Oh yeah, they got the authentic Nigerian music. Okay, I see this. Okay, and then next thing she got this poke bowl or whatever it is that she had outside.
Oh, you just calling Nigerian bowls this Japanese dishes now? Jesus Christ!
And he understood what he did. How he led her to them for that to happen. He felt guilty. He didn't even want to eat the food. He was like, nah.
I wouldn't even. I wouldn't say he felt guilty. He just knew it was wrong, and he was like, "Nah, right. Hell with this." He abided. He abetted and abided her in this whole robbery. And like, no, bro, you don't trust anything she said. Her whole goal and her whole mission was this covert mission to take over and develop in Black communities. Well, we see this shit all the time.
Well, she kind of came. I mean, she kind of said it when she came in. Like, she had food trucks or whatever it was, and whatever situation. So she did say that coming in. I can't remember what type of food she said she was selling, but she was saying like her and her husband had these food trucks, and it's her job to do AYZ and go around and kind of find out about different things. But like I said, it just happens that he led her to the Nigerian spot, and next thing I mean, she could have parked that down the street, man. And she had to go be outside outside, like she ain't paying for the real estate. You know what I mean? Like, she could have parked it down the street.
Yeah, but either way, I mean, think about this now. She owns the property because she bought the person out, and she just set up a truck outside and before she's able to set up inside. It doesn't matter, if there's any bit of her being genuine at all in this. Right. The end game is the end game. You still had a tactic that ended up being the result of folks coming into Black communities wanting to develop and kicking them out and not knowing where they're going after that. Gentrification to his utmost. No matter how she wants to make it seem like it was so sincere, she actually cared about the community. She didn't even know we didn't even switch contact, which means there was nothing personal about it, which means she ultimately was just like, I'm going to do this shady business as almost like a non-faced investor or just in some type of business person who just goes out to be anonymous to just buy up real estate, but actually realizing how detrimental that is for what that community stood for. So that's why, like, everything about her was just BS. And like, I'm not going to take this whole like, oh, we were thinking this guy. Now you had a very, very specific mission that you wanted to do, and by her one truck completely switched that neighborhood. And just that quick, he out here being targeted for not recycling, and dolls are walking down there, and so there's that.
All it takes is one Starbucks, right?
That's it. One Starbucks and one Whole Foods, man, and it's just a wrap. It's just right. You seen South Park, you know what happened. So but anyway, going back to Paperboy. So Paperboy inside the meeting decides to go with the whole earn approach. It's interesting.
Yeah, he grabbed that real quick.
But I'm not mad at him at all, because he does respect him. They always have these moments of where they kind of bicker at each other, but they respect each other. They hear each other. That's why they sustain this friendship and business deal, even being this manager for this long, because like, while they may not agree, they respect, and they do kind of at some points, take into considerations their demands and their perspectives about stuff. Also, Paperboy phone was still missing, and I'm not even sure if he had a phone in this, but it doesn't matter because that's just all.
Notice
where is Socks?
Right, he probably got rid of him, hopefully. But notice he kind of went against his own words too, because remember they was like, he was talking to Aaron like, yeah, you remember what happened to him, right? Got shot, and he kind of got shot at the end of this by participating in this and being the lead, in this commercial. He wound up being the one that got burnt in the end by doing this.
Yeah, I mean, I think by enough of the ignorant conversations going around and everything he's been involved, he said, all right, my way isn't working. Even with his very loud approach at Homegirl about like, their whole initiative and how that's not exactly how that's going to go down. Like, hell no, it ain't. Nah. But again, learning curve. But yeah, I think he was just willing to just take in different perspectives from Earn and himself and trial and error. That's kind of what it was, and ultimately got burned at the end.
Reinvest in your hood.
Yeah, exactly. Speaking of Earn, so Earn runs into Van, his fiance, who's treating him like a random ex. She is super cold, super dismissive, nonchalant, not dismissive, just more nonchalant of like, I thought you were busy. I went shopping and what on. But to this point, with Earn asking, like, where you been? You ain't been answering me. Give me the thumbs up emoji. Definitely cold shoulder. Right. She went shopping. And then what do you know? Good old Karen comes up in there and thinking that she done stole something and trying to make a whole scene. However, if you notice, they happened to be in the upscale black hotel. So we saw things kind of get flipped here, where the Karen was removed and the innocent was the innocent and also rewarded because of the hostile situation that they were in. So that's where Earn was like, oh, cool. Yeah, I guess I am staying here, because traditionally we wouldn't see it happen that way. We all know how that would have went down any other day. I'm willing to bet 9.9 times out of 10 that it happens the other way. So this was that 0.1% of how things should be handled. You can't just walk up to somebody and all this physical contact and accusing them of thieving, and you don't even have any type of
what do you mean? That was a citizen's arrest.
Yeah, exactly.
That was she was within her right? She's a citizen's arrest.
Yeah, very, very Texas of her, But yeah, down goes Karen. Like, get up out of here. You're done. You know what I mean?
Right. I mean, unfortunately, that scene planted a lot of doubt, not only for Earn, but the viewers as well, because we kind of seen what she been on. You know what I mean? Like, they want you to. She stole that wig. You know what I mean? Whatever she's going through, I think she stole that wig. You know what I mean?
Why do you think so?
We've seen her kind of on her thievery before. You know what I mean? Like, since she got there, she's not been herself, and Earn absolutely had a point. You know what I mean? Coming into her like that. Like, look, you somebody mother. You been here for weeks. Like, what's the situation? You got to check in. You know what I mean? I don't care. Like, what's going on between us. You got let your mom know. Whoever, you got a daughter at home.
Absolutely irresponsible. I don't think we should just buy her prior things that we should just automatically say that, oh, she did it again. I mean, sure, because once one black person steals, then we all steal. So you're right.
Right. I'm not going off of like, oh, just whatever. But like I said, she's done this before in like previous episodes. So, or at least this season. And I just, like I said, I know for a fact that we're probably gonna get a Van episode, if solely focused on her and kind of what's led her up to this point and why she's been on what she's on. Because it's almost like they're playing her like she's a ghost, like she's not even really there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it was very like,
or to a certain extent, like Earn is the only one that can see her. But I mean, obviously that's not true because everybody else interact with her. But that's kind of how they're playing the character at this point. Like she's not there, or something happened before she came on the trip, or maybe during the trip, or whatever. Because at the end of the scene, we see like he wakes up, she's not there. Was she there to begin with, or whatever the situation was? So I'm very curious as to. I doubt they would kill her off like that, but like what's going on? But I am curious as to, was she even there to begin with?
The gender swapping, that's all that is. I think they're trying to get us to feel very stereotypical about the things that are happening, just to pull the chair from under us, to say like, no, she really wasn't stealing. No, she really wasn't, doing anything no good. She just wanted space. And I think that's kind of the swerve that they're going at here. And I think in terms of the gender swapping of like, oh, so they met up at a hotel, they had sex, and then she left in the morning, not he. And that's something that, like,
but that's not his character though. That's not something that Earn would do.
Yeah, I know, but see, that's the thing. Like, again, that's why it's like you're going this unconventional way of how things typically are being done. So that's why it's interesting, because we really don't know what's going to happen. I think that when it's going to all come down to it, I think it's literally going to be something with her just saying that she needed time for herself in terms of everything that's happening here. Everything that he named about her responsibilities, that could just be too much for her. You know what I mean?
this ain't the first year she been doing this. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I'm not trying to give the woman no pass on this. You know what I mean? Especially, I'm just going this from where we've seen the characters come from perspective. Like, Aaron has been kind of the one, like, he's been the one getting his stuff together. He wasn't at a certain level in his life, you know, work wise or stability wise for her, and that was the reason she kind of had to step away, because like he was kind of the fuck up at the show for a while, and now he's kind of changed his mental where it's like work, and I'm gonna work and do what I need to do with my family, you know, protect, you know, his daughter and everything else. Yeah. You know, now she needs her time, but at the same time, I'm not going to like shut her down and be like, okay, she is the one with the kid 24/7. She is the one that is dealing with that, you know. So like I said, she was a teacher before this, so I don't know what she's gone through. They haven't really gone to that yet, but maybe she did need that break. But like I said, we won't know until we get to that. Like, so
yeah. Going back to Darius and homegirl. So now that her shop's open, her little truck and the African shop is closed now, you know, she opens up her new business, Naja Bowl.
What's Naja? What's that mean?
Yeah, exactly. now she's just using it. You know what I mean? It's just like everything else with culture vulturing. You take our lingo, take our style, and take our rhymes, all this sorts of stuff, and then you want to go back and pretend like it's yours. You know what I mean? But the biggest thing here, it was a big oh my god moment, but I seen it coming from a mile away. But even with him getting a bowl named after him, he was still had the wherewithal of saying like, this is wrong, I'm up out of here, you know. So that's kind of how that went with that. But if that wasn't enough for the episode, we go back to Paperboy's commercial where you got all these folks talking about reinvesting into your hood. Let's just say about 75% of those folks, because it was very diverse. It was very inclusive. But hood, nah, not the hood that Paperboy is talking about. Not the ones with the mattresses out on the joint.
Everybody got a hood, man.
Yeah, apparently, I guess. Yeah, but he right though. They all mattered his joint, and that's true. It definitely was about the black folks, and if you can even go as far as the people of color struggle, and you start throwing in everything in there. And I mean, like, let's just dissect this a little bit. Why it was about race. Then they threw in sexuality in there, and then they threw in and then they threw in women in perspective of women's rights, religion. I think I even seen a Native American in there. Like, they just feel like they just was like throw everything in there, check every box off, and that is very much the all lives matter approach. And he took it right out of my mouth when he said it. But ultimately, beyond that was the biggest thing. Well, not the biggest thing, because that's clearly the biggest thing. But the next thing was they stole his idea. So here we go again of black folks being creative, having this granular idea, but then you get the folks that take it, run with it, and off to the races with it. And well, Paperboy was real pissed off about that, and so was I, because I mean that's just something that you hear more and more over, more and more times over than it should, and it's just it's bad. But
you see, but you see the look on their faces though. They genuinely didn't think they were doing anything wrong. You know what I mean? They like, what do you mean? Like, it's even better than, you know, what it was before. We got this, we got that. You know what I mean? Like, what's the issue?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So even like you said, even Christine or whatever, like she genuinely was probably like, you know, trying to get the, you know, business out there. She didn't expect, you know, I'm not gonna give her a pass, but yeah, she did that on purpose. But but no, these people, like, when they do this stuff, they of course they don't feel so sincere about it. They want to get themselves out of a jam by any means possible. And I wanted to jump back. If you really take a look at that table of people, look how diverse the cast of black people was at that table. We had the chick in the wheelchair. We had the light skinned dude. We had Paperboy. We had the Asian that was in the room for whatever reason. And like what are you apologizing for? But you know, but like I said, that table was diverse. Like, you know what I mean, as far as like the people that they had on display as representatives for that company to apologize.
Right, because like as a business plan and by the front facing side of the business. They want to be able to say that we actually have representation, and our company is inclusive. Look at them. And that seems to say like, cool, that puts out the fire. But just because they're employed doesn't necessarily mean that you are actually respecting and utilizing their voices.
Right.
And that's the whole thing of the ploy of like, oh, we're very this and very that, but you actually aren't letting them do what they got to do. I mean, hell, Hollywood is super diverse.
But at the same time, man, you got, as you see here, you have those black people with those agendas that don't give a shit, and they just want something out of this. They don't care about the issues. They're gonna get what they're gonna get and move on.
Right.
Like, I mean, my man said it's the 73rd shooting. You know what I mean? Like,
and again, like I said, like this is because like everybody's coming from different approaches. Like you can go back to when the protests are happening. You had people who were activists on the front lines. You had the folks that were making charitable donations, and it was very clear and depicted. You had the folks like Michael Jordan who was donating to places, but you'd be like, well, who donated the highest? Who went there? And then you find out like folks were donating that weren't even saying anything. They didn't want any notoriety. They were just doing what they had to do, you know. And so you got folks who don't know where to go and what to do and how they can change. And that's where you see a big mixing bowl of all that in the different approaches here, where you had Paperboy who thought, I'm happy to make this status, to be here. I'm about to get mine. Like this is my kickback that I deserve. Folks feel like that. I mean, to be honest, that's kind of what the motivation of some of the looters were, where they were just like, I've been held back all this time, so I'm about to run up in this store and go get that.
I deserve this.
But was that the whole point of Black Lives Matter? Hell no. That was a whole different thing. So you had the folks that were like, we're trying to make social injustice change. And you got the folks that saying, I'm getting mine tonight, period. And then you had the folks that was at home saying like, dog, I don't know what the hell is going on. Like, I kind of want to help. I don't know what to do. You got the folks that was doing social media posts. You got the folks that was donating. You got the folks that was just like, ain't bothering me, ain't dealing with me. I ain't worried about this shit. And that's where you kind of got these different profiles and folks. Paperboy flipping about 3 of them. The homeboy that was like moving in a covert move, or like he already knew what he had to do. He knew how to play the game, and then he put him on game at the end. But it kind of seemed like he was selling out, but he actually knew what he was doing. Quite frankly, when you think about his tactic, while I know a lot of people are going to probably call him a sellout, there are folks that actually did pull tactics like that. That were just like, I'm going to play the game and take a bunch of money, incentives and whatnot, and kick back on the back end, and you don't even know it's even happening. It's almost like money laundering from a very like strategical way, you know, moving one thing from one thing to the next, but actually trying to make change. So like it just was interesting how they was able to put all that right into it. But I do have to warn you, like, this is Atlanta, so you know, like, especially with this episode called White Fashion, there's absolutely no way that they were trying to be any bit of like sympathetic.
No.
In terms of these characters, the white characters, and what they were doing. They were making it very clear that these are some of the most usual, but possibly worst cases, and that's what we're going to talk on. Sure, that doesn't mean everybody does it, but these things do happen, and that's what we wanted to make it very clear from top to bottom in this episode. So and that's what I got from it.
Notice during that press conference where like I guess the head of the company or whatever the company was like, we've investigated this internally and we're not racist. Like we found out, like it was like they investigated internally. Like who? Like usually you get like an outside company to do that. You know what I mean? Like you guys did a personal investigation on yourselves and like, yo, we good. We got these people right here. We good. So I thought it was funny. But you know, continuing the theme of don't trust everybody around you. Not everybody got your best interest sometimes. You know what I mean? From Socks to your boy Khalil. You know, who else gonna be in the picture that, you know, now that you at this status is, you know, everybody is, you know, not leeching, but everybody got agendas. So
yeah. And last thing is I wanted to just quickly say is like he was absolutely right. Why would they fund their own demise? Bingo. And Nick a Treat. Have you ever heard of that on Nickelodeon?
No, I was thinking the whole time.
Y'all jump in the comments, let us know if was that a thing. I never heard of that, but if that's a thing, Jesus Christ, like, jeez.
Oh my God.
And the last thing before we wrap up, Black Panther 2, Lorenz Tate and Whoopi Goldberg are in that.
I wouldn't be surprised. They gotta put him in there now. They gotta put him
Jeez.
in. He was tempted. He was like, Lorenz, I gotta see that.
Hey man,
nah.
Lorenz make the OGs come out, man. You hear Lorenz in the movie, they're gonna say, yeah. Mm-hmm. But yeah, folks, that would do it tonight for our review of episode 6 of Atlanta White Fashion. Jump in the comments, let us know your thoughts, your assessment, your takeaways from tonight's episode. Leave all that in the comments below. And we're back next week for episode 7 and more Atlanta. Thank you for tuning in, folks.
See you.